Logo's POW.
So this week I want to have a look at a game and a couple of other games, no surprise there, but this week I'm going to be looking at Katakis, a Commodore 64 game which was highly reviewed after seemingly bursting out of nowhere just to be shelved. So, Rainbow Arts, already fresh off their success from Great Guiana Sisters, another game which mysteriously disappeared, released Katakis. It showed up in issue 42 of Zap64 with no fanfare under the Go label from US Gold. It got the cover feature. It got a coveted Zap Sizzler award, and all was good, and they even promised a demo of it on the cover that month. However, on closer inspection of the cover, the tape looked a little different. What's this? Time Tunnel, an unreleased game. How confusing. So we had to wait another month to find out what exactly was going on. And this was Zap64's reply. So I'll hand you over to Dudley from Yesterday to tell us all about that.
If you're feeling confused, fed up, surprised, amazed, flabbergasted or annoyed because last month's cover cassette, billed as Katakis, turned out to be Time Tunnel, here's the explanation. Katakis was a horizontally scrolling shoot-'em-up very much in the R-Type mould. In fact, Activision, who hold the license from IREM to produce the official R-Type conversion, due for release later this year, thought it was so much like R-Type that they had a case for legal action. US Gold agreed to halt publication not only of Katakis itself, but of all promotional material connected with the game. Zap had just gone to press. Cover and reviews had been printed. The Katakis tapes had been duplicated, but the magazine hadn't been distributed yet. The cover cassette was classified as promotional material, and US Gold had agreed to withdraw all promotional material. This meant we were legally obliged to remove the cassette from the cover. In fact, all versions of Katakis have now been withdrawn, so you won't see it on the shelves either. As for Zap issue 42, US Gold stepped in at the last minute with an alternative cassette which turned out to be Time Tunnel. In the resulting confusion, we were given to understand that this was a previously unreleased game. In fact, it had been reviewed in issue 12 and gained an overall rating of 49%.
There we go, Time Tunnel. Not as if anybody had the foresight to look back and see if Zap had actually reviewed it in the past. Yes.
As the magazines had been printed, there was no time to include instructions or any form of explanation. The magazine had already been delayed several days due to duplication of the alternative cassettes. Any further delay and you probably wouldn't have got Zap at all.
And since US Gold replaced the Katakis demo with Time Tunnel, I'm pretty sure Marvel's lawyers were asleep that day. So let's have a look at Katakis and its sequels, remakes, other games. So here we go. Katakis, Katie's Kiss, what Katie did, whatever it's called, I pronounce it differently each time I say the word. Anyway, this, understandably so, was very, very impressive when it turned up in the Zap64 offices. It looked impressive, and obviously you can already tell there's some R-Type stylings here. The force pull at the front, the weapons, the sideways scrolling gameplay. Some of the weapons are even very reminiscent of R-Type. It's like there's a bouncing laser, there's a red forward laser, that sort of thing. But to be honest, first impressions, okay, it is a bit like that, but is it worthy of a lawsuit? I don't know. But it is very, very good. And one other R-Type styles leaning it's got is the beam weapon. If you hold down the fire button, it releases the beam. Right, we've got first boss coming up. Quite an easy boss. But yeah, very R-Type, but not, you know, not. It's looks like it a bit, so... Okay, on to the second level then. And oh my, this is what Activision saw. This looks a hell of a lot like Stage 1 of R-Type, with those walkers and the sort of cream-coloured space station underneath. That's very R-Type. Okay, bit of an insert here. So yes, this Commodore 64 version of R-Type does look very similar to Katakis. Oh, what's that? Who's it developed by? Ah, that's right, Rainbow Arts. Apparently, one of the conditions of getting out of legal action with Activision was to agree to do the Commodore 64 version of R-Type. And as you can see, this is why Activision were sort of worried about Katakis. Yes. So, there we go. It's strangely what goes around comes around, isn't it? That Rainbow Arts would end up making the official conversion. But meanwhile, we're still enjoying this. Very impressive for a Commodore 64 game in the late 80s. Very impressive indeed. Now, one thing that's worth noting that a year or two later, oh, bouncy R-Type laser, see, there you go. A year or so later, Katakis, Katie's Kiss, what Katie did finally get a commercial release. All they did was change some of the graphics around and re-release under a different name of Denaris. And I would show you Denaris, but there's very little point. Oh shit! Oh, have I got the trainer turned on? I've got the trainer turned on. For God's sake. It was exactly the same game. So not really at this point worth mentioning much apart from yes, it finally did actually get a release. But by that point, the R-Type bandwagon had died down, people didn't really care, and I never saw Denaris for sale anywhere. However, Katakis, Katie's Kiss, Katakis. It's funny, Katakis is potentially the right way of saying it because apparently it was a name stolen from a phone book and just happened to be a Greek name. But anyway, did get a release on the Commodore Amiga. So let's have a quick shufty over to the 16-bit Commodore and take a look at that. Right, so here we go, the Amiga version. And this I had played back in the day, and I was really quite underwhelmed considering how good the Commodore 64 version looks in the magazines. I think this was a disappointment. Let's have a look. So first thing you notice is a more R-Type style ship, and these sound effects are ripped straight from R-Type. So's that power up sound, and the powering up by holding down the fire button only sends the pod off. It doesn't actually send out a more powerful blast, so that's slightly annoying. But aside from that, it's a... Oh shit, I was flying far too low there. It's very much an also-ran shoot 'em up, and some wasted potential as well, because the Amiga could do so much better than this. I mean, even something like the lack of any in-game music really detracts from it. So, yes. Oh crap, it's also bastard hard. Right, using the powers of emulation, we're onto a different level now. And again, the R-Type sliding is so strong here. It's incredible. I mean, bouncy laser. Now, what you know what's funny is, evidently, we talked about Denaris when we were talking about the C64 version. This is Denaris, And all they did was change the levels around, as in the order. This is now level 1 of Daenerys, and it was level 4 or 5 of Katakis. So, shows how little they changed and how little people cared about the R-Type style shoot 'em ups, even it was only a year or so later. I mean, the little rotating orb at the bottom, that's classic R-Type. Now, this is annoying. Speed up pushes you forward when you collect it. Super annoying. Brilliant design. But yeah, I'm using the trainer again so we can actually get some footage. It was so disappointing. I was so looking forward to this. And again, you can see why Activision were pissed off. Do you know what else? So yeah, just as a comparison, this is the Amiga version of R-Type, and you'll never guess who it's programmed by. Yeah, Factor 5, same people who made Katakis and Daenerys for the Amiga as well. Again, an offshoot of Rainbow Arts, so no surprises there, I guess. Yep, there we go. Rainbow Arts and Factor 5 got around, even on the Amiga, so, you know. Meanwhile, we've still got a couple of other games to talk about, so let's do that then. So, Manfred Trenz, obviously the mastermind behind the original Katakis and Turrican games, and apparently after the Commodore 64 version of Turrican 2 was finished, he said, no, I'm done, I'm not doing anything else again. Then in 1992, on a cover disc, I believe, for a German magazine, up pops Enforcer, and people call it since Katakis 2. It's not mentioned here anywhere, but I mean, obviously the lineage is clear. Let's take a look. And we've already got another really hard, but pretty looking Commodore 64 game. Those backgrounds are a bit mad, aren't they? But damn it, I'm really sucking. Do you know what? On practice, I played a lot better than this. Honest gov. We got a shield, that's something. And there's a lot of shit going on the screen, and it's very pretty and not bad for a cover mount if that's really what happened there. This has been criticised for Mr. Trenz recycling a lot of assets from previous games, from Turrican, Katakis and whatever else he had worked on. And you can see some of that here. I mean, those enemy sprites there are R-Type forces, and yeah, but that's fine. It's very fast and very slick, and a little bit out of its time by 1992, because if the bubble burst by the time Daenerys got released, it had well and truly withered away. I mean, it's probably got more in common with Darius with the way that things are playing, but it runs at such a great breakneck speed, and you do have the return of the hold down the fire to beam up the weapon thing as well, which is nice. Oh, we've got some satellite fighters as well. That's good. And lots of power-ups. I mean, we've got a boss coming now. I do believe Mr. Trenz had seen Delay Lancer by this point, because it does remind me a lot of Delay Lancer. Especially with the background with the planet there fading in and out, and yeah, there's some rotating satellite things. We've got a boss coming, haven't we? You don't have one-hit kills deaths in this. You've got an energy bar, which I've filled up again from all those nice power-ups towards the end of the stage. And stage 2 has an equally as distracting background, and the Walker Smile type of back as well. Activision by this point doesn't give a shit. The rights have probably reverted back to IREM and they don't actually care anymore. But that's fine. As I said earlier, reused assets here. But that's fine. So we see what Katakis did next? Yes, let's. So what's this? It's Katakis 3D from Similis. I can't find a lot of info on this. This is a prototype. It was never finished and never got released. There is this early build lurking out there if you look close enough. But strange enough, for the Game Boy Color, of all things. Stage 1. And already you can see from those early aliens coming into the screen, you've got very similar alien designs to the original game. You've got 3 weapons you can switch between. This blue one, a green one and a red one. I'm guessing that's some sort of equivalent of the red, green and blue from the original game. The green one giving a sort of scatter shot, the red one being concentrated and the blue one being somewhere in between. There's probably a politics joke in there somewhere, but hey ho. Yeah, and it's just interesting to see that this game was obviously programmed to a point where it was playable. I really don't know why it just didn't happen. It's very impressive for a Game Boy Color game, I'll say that. Nice music, it moves smoothly, very good stuff. Obviously, it's nothing at all like R-Type, being sort of a bit too more like Galaxy Force or Afterburner. But we could probably go down a huge rabbit hole here. I mean, for all I know, this might be related to Iridion and Iridion 2, the 2 Game Boy Advance shooters that came out a year or so later. But an interesting thing nonetheless. Now, Rainbow Arts and Factor 5 didn't totally disappear. Factor 5 would go on to make some other sideways scrolling shoot-em-ups, notably X Out or Cross Out as it's called, and then it's Full Up, Z Out or Squiggle Out. Both fine games in their own right, but strayed a little bit further away from the R-Type influence, maybe not to piss Activision off. So there we go, a look at the legacy of Katakis. An interesting story full of legalities and missed opportunities, and sadly games you couldn't play back at the time, but thankfully you can now. It's good to be able to actually play them nowadays. But what do you think of them? Have you come across them before? Comment below. In the meantime, I'll leave you with this.
Helicopter! Subscribe or naff off!